Well, I want to, I guess, thank you guys again for your time. I really do appreciate you guys being here, meeting with me today. In a little bit, one of my colleagues, Robert Smalls, will be joining me. Robert Smalls Jr., he's a current UF student. He's actually in a summer class right now, so he'll be joining me in a bit. Tell you a little more about myself. My name is Donovan Carter. I just graduated from UF with my MA in Latin American Studies. That's within the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences. My research interests include race and specifically like policing and how policing and race are kind of clash and conflict at times. Specifically, well, that's, I guess, a general interest. My research was about race and policing at a national strike in Colombia, in a city called Cali, Colombia. So that being said, that's a little bit about me. I went to undergrad at Howard University. I graduated there in 2021. I'm originally from Atlanta, Georgia. So I'm not from Florida. A lot of Gators are from Florida, but I'm one of the few Gators who aren't from Florida. And yeah, that's a little bit on me. I have a twin brother. That's a fun fact. But can you tell me a little bit more about yourselves, a little bit, and who you are and what you guys do?
Is that a Colombian flag in the background?
So this is the Dominican Republic, actually. A lot of people ask
Dominican
that.
Republic.
So yeah, Dominican Republic. I'm here in our office, the Center for Oral History program, and this is in one of our offices here.
You want to go first, Carji, or you want me to go first?
You can go
I'll go first. I'll go first. Again, my name is Dr. Kerwin Scott. I'm a graduated third-year resident at University of Florida, Graduate School of Periodontics. I'm originally born in California, raised partially in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and partially in Decatur, Georgia.
Okay,
That's where I graduated. Huh?
Decatur, where's greater?
Yeah, man. Yeah. Yeah. And so graduated from Towers High School there. Went to the Marine Corps out of high school. After the Marine Corps, enrolled in college, played some basketball, not that much. That's where I realized I wasn't. I used to think that I was going to be a basketball player, but I realized that I wasn't that good, first off, and I was much better at science. So I turned all my attention towards science. And from there, just been to a couple of different schools, just worked my way through, just trying to find the best path to accomplish my goals and do all the normal stuff that people do when they're trying to do that when you're growing up. And left there, moved to Tennessee, graduated from Lane College, which is a small HBCU in Jackson, Tennessee. Went to a couple of programs in between there. And here ended up getting accepted into Meharry Medical College in 2015 for a master's program. At that point, I had been married for a year. We had my daughter. So we moved from myself and Dr. Carjamin Scott moved from Memphis to Nashville. Started in the master's program. After the master's program, started in the dental school. And then from the dental school, I applied to 3 residency programs. I ranked University of Florida #1. And, fortunately, I was able to get accepted. And from there, just going through the program here at the University of Florida. And now I've graduated, and now we're planning on staying in Florida and moving to Jacksonville, Florida. And along the way, somewhere in between there, maybe about a year ago, the Education Equalizer Foundation was founded by my wife, which I'm sure she'll talk more about that. And so we have that going too, and several other things. But short version, that's pretty much where I'm at.
Wow, that's amazing. I may want to circle back to a couple of these things a bit later. That's awesome. Thank you so much for that. And Dr. Carjamin?
Sure. Thank you, Donovan, for reaching out to us and sharing our story. I think it's significant that Kerwin has accomplished as much as he's accomplished. One thing that he didn't mention is he served 4 years in the Marine Corps as well, right after high school. And so that made him a non-traditional student. Then also being married with a daughter, and then we also had a son, our daughter, not just his daughter, our daughter. And then we also had a son while he was in medical school too. So not only was he older due to 4 years in the Marine Corps, but he also was a husband. So he was married while in school and had 2 children. So just something else to add. But as for myself, born and raised in Chicago, my mother is African-American. My father is from Manila, Philippines. He happens to be Filipino and Chinese. So I'm Black, Filipino, and Chinese. I attended a college in Memphis. I went to college immediately after high school, Christian Brothers University in Memphis, Tennessee. I attended all private Catholic schools from kindergarten through my doctorate degree, which I got that from Lipscomb University. I worked at Christian Brothers and originally wanted to become a journalist. Also thought about getting into computer engineering. I've always really been good at just knowing how things work and understanding things logically. I've always fortunate to have technology around me. And at one point I thought about computer engineering, but there were no women that I saw that were in that field. And so that was discouraging. Then I thought about journalism, and I was really close to sticking with journalism until I read an article that said journalists, people in those careers most likely to be stalked. So I was like, I don't want to be stalked. So I changed that. But I did work study in the Office of Admissions and the admissions staff, and I kind of hit it off. And so every year they gave me more responsibility and more positions. So I was a work study at first and an ambassador. Then I had kids actually staying in the rooms with me during like the preview days and stuff. And then I did my final internship in admissions. So I started working in college admissions when I was like 18 years old.
Wow.
And I then, after working at Christian Brothers, worked at for-profit schools like ITT Tech and DeVry and Battle Rock Career College and City College, those types of schools. And it was very rewarding because my parents, my grandmother rather was a medical assistant and my mother was a cosmetologist. So I was really excited about working in trade schools. And then just growing up, when I was in Chicago, I grew up impoverished. So there weren't many colleges coming to our high school cafeteria recruiting us. The recruiters I saw were like on TV commercials, and it was mainly trade school commercials that were recruiting us. So I'm actually the first in my family to get a high school diploma and a college degree.
Congratulations.
And so after working at the trade schools, I met Kerwin at my last trade school gig. So I was about 5 years into working professionally. And we hit it off immediately, got married, had a baby, and he got accepted to Meharry. And so when he got accepted to Meharry, we had to move. We were living in Memphis. And so we moved to Nashville so that he could pursue medical school. And I applied to a position at Vanderbilt University. So I worked for Vanderbilt for about 4 years in their business school specifically. And so that was awesome because I was their operations manager. So I did get to do a little bit of working with computers because I was managing their systems. I was in the back office doing work for them. So that was fun. And then after that, I started thinking about how I could help the people that really want to go to college, because I learned while I was at Vanderbilt how selective schools are and how that's what makes them highly ranked. And that's why people admire them and why they are so quote unquote prestigious, is because they don't let everybody in. And to me, that was counterproductive, because I'm like, the people who need the help the most should be the ones that get in. This doesn't make any sense to me. And because I was the first in my family to go to college, I didn't understand the rules of the game, but I definitely was schooled on those rules at Vandy. And so it challenged me to start thinking outside of the box, to give the resources that I saw Vanderbilt students be given to the people who really need them, you know, in my opinion. And so that's when I first started thinking about starting my own business and doing like some consulting work. And in the midst of that, Kerwin matched at UF, and I was offered a position to work at Tennessee State University. I had a pretty highly ranked, I had about 15 people reporting to me. But then the pandemic hit and we were all forced to work remotely. And so while working remotely, we eventually knew we were going to have to move as well. So it was easy for me to pitch the idea that I would continue working remotely permanently, because we were all working remotely anyway. And so eventually, when people started going back to work, my job transitioned to a permanent remote position. And so now I still work for TSU. I oversee their recruitment. And while at TSU, I've recruited, leading alongside a team. I didn't do it by myself, but we recruited the largest number of first-time freshmen in TSU history. Wow. And they seem happy about that because they're keeping me around. Yeah. And so with that, I really learned from working at TSU, like, man, the trade schools and the top ranked schools have more resources than the HBCUs, but the HBCUs are the ones who are creating the most success with the kids that look like me. You come from where I come from. So I'm like, why is that? What in the hell is going on with education in America, specifically higher education? So that's really what put a lot of fuel under my fire, because although, you know, I can say that we've enrolled all of these kids, I could have, there's even more that need help, you know? And there's some I won't be able to reach because they may not meet TSU's admissions requirement, or they may get a full scholarship elsewhere and TSU may not have given them a scholarship. So I'm like, let me start a volunteer organization. So every kid I touch, I can help. And so that's where EEF came from. And so in November of 2021, we started. In June of 2022, we got our first grant. And it was really just to help. We were budgeted to help 20 kids, but we helped 100. So wow. We had to be creative with our funding. We've helped 100 kids in the past year and a half. And this upcoming summer, last summer we had 12 kids. This summer we have 25. So if we grow at the same rate as we did last summer, we could potentially help double. We could potentially help 200, between 150 at a minimum to 200 this year, which it sounds good, but that's a lot of work for somebody that's doing it as a volunteer. Somebody with very little money and two first ends. Because Kerwin isn't a first-gen college grad, but he's the first in his family to become a periodontist. I mean, he's the first Black male periodontist at UF, period. So there's just a lot of stuff that we have to navigate. We have to make sure that we're fed first, of course, so we can help people. We can't help other people if we're not fed first. And so we're at that stage in our lives, whereas we're just trying to do what we can strategically.
Yeah, absolutely. That's amazing. This is my colleague Robert here. Sorry, he's coming out of class, but very nice to meet both of y'all.
Nice to meet you
too.
So this is like pretty, you guys have a really amazing story, both individually and together, and I really admire that, and that's really cool. So I guess my first question to you, Dr. Kerwin Scott, what is periodontics? What is that? What is that specifically?
Periodontics is the treatment of patients with periodontal disease. Periodontal disease is what we consider to be like a severe form of gingivitis. It's where you lose, your teeth have ligaments. And when you have periodontal disease, you have bone loss in your jaw and your mouth. It causes attachment loss, and which means that your teeth become loose. And the thing about periodontics is it's really prevalent in young African American children. We see it a lot, and we also see it a lot in older adults, but we see it a lot in patients who are compromised medically. So we end up treating a lot of patients who have, undergone different types of treatment like chemotherapy, radiation therapy, a lot of organ removal stuff, a lot of just medically compromised patients. A lot of patients with diabetes, a lot of patients who smoke, who have a lot of systemic disease. And what our goal is to restore the dentition. So, we extract teeth, we place dental implants, we grow and harvest bone. We grow and harvest different tissues in the mouth. We do some sinus surgeries. We also, we use a lot of different methods, but, medications and actual clinical treatments that we do, surgical procedures, but we also work with all the different specialties, to help facilitate treatment, whether it's medical doctors or dentists, to facilitate treatment of these patients.
Wow. That's incredibly fascinating. I knew that you were in the dentistry field, but that's incredibly fascinating. And I guess what led you to lead this career path specifically?
I think that just really, if I, to go all the way back, just as a kid, just really understanding what I wanted to do, just from a kid. It started with me mainly in the Marine Corps. I thought, what am I going to do when I get out of the Marine Corps? And I always wanted to help people, but I wasn't sure how I wanted to do it. And to tell you the truth, I was just sitting out. We were doing some cold weather training. I was sitting up on the mountain one night, and I just picked something. Honestly, I just picked something that, because I saw a little a bookmarker in Walmart before we went out on deployment, and it says shoot for the stars, and if you fail, you will land on a cloud or something like that. And that's what I did. I just picked something that I didn't even think I could do. And I initially had that thought in my mind, but once I got to college and the whole basketball thing unraveled, I just decided to try it. And, I started really from just a thought in my mind with absolutely no understanding of how I was going to do it or what it was going to take to get there. And I just, made the decision to see it all the way through. And, understand that I'm gonna have to live with all the mistakes and all the bumps and bruises and, all the failures and all that stuff. And so that's what I did. I mean, over many years, just trying to figure the path out, the path that works for me, because you get people who tell you stuff, but that may not necessarily be applicable for your situation. So, and then it depends on your personality too. So, I just kind of just every day, just slowly worked my way towards this point. So I think if I had to say anything, it was a lot of other stuff too, but it would be mainly that.
Okay. That's amazing. We at SPOP, our director is a veteran. We have a huge Veterans History Project. So I guess I'm going to just ask just one more question about your time in the Marine Corps. I guess so. So did you train at Parris Island or did you train out in San Diego?
Parris Island.
Okay, cool. We were just up there. We were just up near Parris Island. We were.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we were in Beaufort, like the Charleston area. So we were up there.
Yeah. I didn't get to see much when I was there, but I know what you're talking about.
Oh yeah. Let's see. So I want to talk to you about um to you guys both a bit more about Education Equalizer. I've looked at your website a little bit. I've read some testimonials and some what's this? Just looking at your website and stuff on about the foundation. It seems really incredible. So I kind of want to know where this came from and kind of how it came to be, and kind of maybe even obstacles and barriers you may have kind of had to overcome in order for it to have the success it has now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can give you a little bit, but then I'll let Dr. Scott finish it off. But I think it came from, like she said, previously, when you look at, she has all this experience from the outside looking in the conversations that we've had. I've seen her go down this path, in education, with all her different experiences and, all the different roadblocks that she's hit at every destination, whether it was a for-profit institution, whether it was a small college, or whether it was her own personal educational experience that she matriculated, or whether it was at, a big university, small university, HBCU, political climate, personal life, education is in, every aspect of our life all the time. And then when you have a heart to try to help people, what's the one way, which there are many ways, but one of the main ways you can help people is through education. Because I've learned this, and this is, just a blessing that me and her have been able to, we found each other. Because the only reason I'm where I'm at is not because of any special talent I had, is just because of education. And, all of my other skills have developed as a result of an educational journey that I went on. And I think that her having all these different experiences and going through all this stuff really got her thinking, what can we do to combat some of the issues that we see in the different minority communities. And when I say minority, not just Black, not just Hispanic or different groups, Asians, or whatever the group might be, but, also first generation people, immigrants, even if you have parents who are highly trained, highly skilled, you're still at a disadvantage. You look at, what schools who have all of the resources look for, it's not what those groups have, typically. And so I think that she took parts from her own personal journey. She had to, in order to really start something like this, you have to use your personal journey, and then combined with her professional experience, I think really gave her the unique platform she needed to start a foundation like this. And then to, for it to carry on and be as successful as it has been, in the short amount of time, I think it's just a testament more of her personal journey. And then secondarily, her educational experiences. But I'll, finish it off, Carji. That's just from my perspective.
Can you repeat the question, Donovan?
Sure. So I kind of wanted to know a little bit more about Education Equalizers and, how it came to be, what inspired it or influenced it, and and what its growth has looked like from an idea to an actual foundation that creates, tangible change on students' lives.
So it's really two parts. The first part is students. In order for colleges to be successful, they have to put the students first. And I've seen colleges shut down. I've been in a position where I've had to lay off people because colleges shut down. And every time that happened, it was because that organization didn't put the student first. And no college is exempt from that. So that's the first reason, is I wanted to be able to create an organization that truly represented the students. We did a analysis of other nonprofits, how they work. There's other nonprofits that help kids go to college, but what's so great about us? What's unique? Well, our kids don't have to have a certain GPA or test score to be helped. Our kids don't have to go to an HBCU, a PWI, or trade school to be helped. We literally are helping anybody that wants to go to college. We are ranked 48 out of 50 for completing the FAFSA. Out of all 50 states, Florida is ranked number 48 out of 50.
Wow.
The American Council of Education suggests that the guidance counselor to student ratio is supposed to be 250 to 1. That's already too many, but in the state of Florida, it's 408 to 1.
Wow. Wow.
There's just so much data that proves how important it is for us to have an unlimited number of nonprofit organizations that help kids go to college. But just like I aforementioned, ours is unique because we help any student that wants to go to college who otherwise thought or feels that the high school that they go to is not able to assist them in the way they need assistance to be successful. So that's the first part, is the students. We want to help them go to college, but why? Well, because like Kerwin had mentioned, there are certain career paths that you have to have that you have to have a college degree to obtain. You can't become a periodontist without a college degree. You can't become a judge without a college degree. You can't become a lawyer without a college degree. You can't become a teacher without a college degree. And if we want our kids to be in decision-making positions, whereas they're gainfully employed and they're giving back to the communities in which they come from, then we have to help them get accepted to college, stay in college, and graduate from college, no matter their path to do it or not. Like one had a non-traditional path. Not everybody's going to go straight through.
Mhm.
And because you don't, you shouldn't be penalized for that. So again, that's the first part, is because of the student. The second part is kind of selfish. The second part is I believe in myself. I believe that I can help students without having to get a check from a school to help them. I believe that although we're a volunteer organization right now, we're going to become a full-time staff employed business. I believe in myself. I know how to run a business. I know how to help students. I recognize that the history of colleges in America, they were created for Anglo-Saxon Protestant white men to attend. I recognize that I am the exact opposite of that. My religion is not that. My gender is not that. My race is not that. But even though colleges weren't created for me, they still helped me become successful. If I hadn't have gone to college, I don't know what I would have done. My college education saved my life. Again, I'm the first in my family to get a high school diploma and a college degree, but I'm not the last. And so I want more students to be able to have the same experience that I had. Like Kerwin mentioned, oftentimes your collegiate journey is the journey that helps you identify success and be a change agent and an expert in a particular field post-graduation. There's no other place that would allow you to do that. There's certain advantages and grace you get and opportunities to make mistakes and fail that you're able to take advantage of in college that you cannot do in the real world. Mm-hmm. So everybody who wants to go should be able to go. And if you want to go, you feel like you don't have the resources to be able to go, then you need to come to the Education Equalizer Foundation or a nonprofit like it.
Wow.
Why we started it.
Yeah. So what year did you guys start the foundation? And how
November 2021.
And how many students have you been able to kind of, I guess, assist and reach since then?
Over 100.
Wow.
And the way we've helped them is we've taken them on college tours. We've helped them write their personal statements, their resumes. We have taught them about how to be successful in college, including study skills, preparation, and networking opportunities so that they can meet other people in the positions in which they want to be in the future. We are a one-stop shop helping middle school, high school students get prepared for college.
You've helped do job.
Job shadowing as well, yep.
Wow. That's amazing. It's incredibly inspiring to hear that, in less than 2 years, you've already been able to help over 100 students. So that's really, really cool.
I mean, at one point I wanted to get into computer engineering, and then I wanted to become a journalist. But actually I'm doing all of that plus more, because like when you had mentioned you looked at my website. The reason why we've been able to help that many students is because, yes, I know what I'm doing because I know how to help people, but I also know how to streamline processes. I know how to manage systems. Like I built the website, I created the CRM that we use. I've partnered with Slate. Like we are very strategic in the way that we assist our students. And we have meetings quarterly. We have a very knowledgeable volunteer staff. So this is a well-oiled machine. There's always opportunities and places where we can get better and grow, of course. We're all open to that. But I think it's valuable to know that, we're an organization that you can sink your teeth into.
Yeah. That was a really powerful statement. And personally, I feel honored to be included in this oral history and to get a chance to see and be a part of the interview. But my question is, who in both of y'all's lives helped y'all get to where y'all are today? You get what I mean? I believe in this legacy, or in a sense, generational help, where there's someone behind me who's pushing me, who helps me to go and achieve what I do today. Who are like a few critical people in y'all's lives who helped push you to where y'all are today?
For me, can you hear me?
Yeah, Bill.
Yeah. For me, I would say, of course, my parents, God too, number one. But people here, I've ran into different people, a lot of different people at different times. Actually, and some of it's been, kind of retrospective, where people have told me things and I may not have understood at the moment. And later on down the line, I realized what that person, was telling me actually happened. But I would have to say my mentor, who was an oral and maxillofacial surgeon, was very key in helping me just understand and believe that I could get it done.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that's pretty much it. I mean, there's been a lot of people, that have, poured into me and have helped me along the way. But I would say probably one of the most pivotal people will be him.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say when I were to look at the people that have helped me, they've mainly been people in my church, people who were my teachers, people who I looked at their lives and I was like, I don't want my life to be like yours, so I need to do something different. so sometimes people weren't necessarily trying to pour into me. But I noticed like the direction in which you're going, I think I'm going to take the other lane. And then being a mother, my kids also inspire me a lot, because I just want to make sure that I'm somebody who they're proud of, and that there's nothing that they would ever have to be afraid to do. Like I want them to always be fearless. So I would say my kids too. And then Kerwin, of course, because that's like my sparring partner, that's my confidant and my best friend. So he's always encouraging me as well. So that's what I would say.
Thank y'all both for those answers. And speaking about a certain maxillofacial surgeon, do you know Dr. Wells by chance? Dr. Marvin Wells? He was the first.
No. I've heard his name several times though.
He was the first Black person to graduate from UF School of Dentistry.
Mm-hmm.
So when I heard your story, I thought about his story too, because I know we went to the same church in Jacksonville, and he was one of my mentors.
Oh, really?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
I've heard his name several times.
Mhm. And also both of y'all are Dr. Scott. So I got so also the other Dr. Scott, Miss Carjamin Scott. Dr. Carjamin Scott. When it comes to how you basically said that you saw other people going the wrong way, you said that's not. I identify greatly with that too, because I look at some people in my family where I'm like, oh my goodness,
Right.
some got to be better than this.
Exactly.
I feel like those were actually my bigger teachers, because other people, they can say, this is what I did, so you should do what I did, right? But then you're like, but I don't necessarily want to do exactly what you did. But I'm glad that worked out for you, you know? But then when I see people who, what they're trying to tell me is completely different than what they've done, those are the ones that really inspire me, because then it just makes me say, it makes me find a way to achieve things that they haven't even seen before. It encourages me to dream bigger, you know, not to limit my dream based upon their situation, you know. I want to note too, so Kerwin is the first Black male periodontist to graduate from UF. Just, I know you're writing this down just to make sure that there's no confusion. We know that 80% of all Black doctors and dentists come from two schools, and that's Meharry and Howard, your alma mater, Donovan. And the first Black person to graduate from the School of Periodontology was a woman, and she was also from Meharry.
Oh, wow. Wow. And Meharry is in Memphis as well? Or?
Nashville.
Nashville. Okay. I remember it was in Tennessee, but okay, wow. That's amazing.
Like that's important to note, because it just shows that we have to continue to leave the door open.
That's right.
For each other, and just the added stress that comes with being the first. Like, I know Kerwin really doesn't even like it that I say it, but I do tell people because I feel like it's inspiring. But when you're the first, if you mess it up, nobody else may be able to come after you for a while. You know, like, because they're looking at you.
Yeah, that's very true.
Al Sharpton of the group. And so there's like this extra, and I've dealt with it too, not in the sense of I'm not a periodontist, but I've been in spaces where I was the only one who looked like me, sounded like me, was my gender, blah, blah, blah. And so there's just an extra layer on top of just the normal stress of trying to pass your classes that comes with it. And so I wanted to make sure that was shared too, that how important it is to leave the door open and the expectations when you are the first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Well, let's see. What else do I have the question about? So it seems like, well, I guess first question is, how did you two meet? Do you remember the day? Like, what was it like to meet each other? How did you meet?
I don't remember how I met Kerwin.
You just woke up and he was there. It's like, oh.
Yeah, I was there. I just popped up.
That's fair.
No, we met at a barbecue.
Yeah, we met.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It must have been good. Yeah. Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah, it was okay. You know, actually it was my fraternity.
Oh.
We were having a barbecue, and I actually didn't want to go, but just, you know, trying to be available, I ended up going, and that's where we met.
Wow.
Same. I didn't want to go, and I'm not in a sorority, but my girlfriend had just joined a sorority, which was even more why I didn't want to go, because I didn't feel left out. But I went to support her because that's the type of friend that I am. And I ended up finding me a husband. So
You came out all right. Exactly, it came out all right. So I've kind of picked up a couple of nuggets on how it seems that for both of you, your faith has been very essential and important in this. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
yeah. So we have been members of several churches. We've been together. We've been married. It'll be 10 years in January. And so Kerwin had to leave.
Sorry.
And we've just always been involved in our churches, the churches near us. We are currently members of the AME church. Prior to that, we were with a Baptist church, and prior to that, we were with a non-denominational church.
Yeah, well, excellent. Do you perhaps have a favorite scripture or text that you refer to frequently or that inspires you often? Or
Yeah, I have several. The first one that comes to mind is Habakkuk 2:2. Write the vision, make it plain. He that readeth it will run to table something. I know it's write the vision, make it plain. I'm going past verse 2. I like Jeremiah 29, verse 11. For I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord. I like that 1 Corinthians 1 about love is patient. Love is all that. I have a few that I like. Yeah.
Good.
I'm not a pastor or a preacher, but
That's all right. Well, those are all good. Those are all very, very good. Those are good verses.
Yeah.
My favorite one too was Jeremiah 29:11. And I know the plans I have for you. Those are good. That's a good one too.
Well, my favorite verse is Psalms. The whole chapter of Psalms 91. He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide by the shadow of the Almighty. I'll say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I trust. Yea, do I walk through.
The valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil.
That's Psalms 93. I almost merged the two together.
Okay.
It's a book song.
Yeah, it's some good songs. They in there. But that's good though. That's good too. Well, Dr. Scott, is there anything else you wanted to add or want the people to know about either yourself, your husband, or education equalizers before we head out?
You can mention that I have a book called You Are Accepted, How to Get Accepted into College, and it's available everywhere books are sold. Within its first week, it became an Amazon bestseller.
Oh.
And it basically just outlines my life. It's a memoir about higher education and my plan to make it accessible to all students, especially the students who need the help the most with navigating it. So, and it actually ends with me talking about, I'm not sure what my next step is going to be. And then 6 months later, we started the Education Equalizer Foundation.
Wow.
So, yeah, I got a really big community from writing that book. And I feel like that's another reason why we have such momentum. Is because the people who read that book are like, wow, she's doing what she said. She kind of manifested it in her book. So when I wrote it, I didn't know it was going to look like this, but I guess that was the reason for writing it.
Sorry. That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, I don't have any more questions, Robert. Anything else?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay. Well, we want to thank you so much for your time today, Dr. Scott. It's been a joy and a pleasure and an honor talking to you today. We both learned so much, and we'll be on the lookout for more from the Education Equalizer Foundation, and also from just both of you guys in your continuing endeavors. So, thanks again so much for your time.
You're welcome. So, what is the next steps now that you've gotten this intel? What are you going to do with it?
Yes. So next this is going to be this interview is going to be transcribed and placed into the University of Florida Digital Collections, just meaning that it's access to the libraries, access for public use. This video interview will also probably go into our YouTube channel as well. I'll type that into the chat so you can see. So it will go. This interview will eventually end up on our YouTube channel as well. And I will also send you a form for deed of gift, I believe, or what's it actually called? Just copyright information. So just for releasing this interview, just to be released for education and public information.
Okay.
I'll send that along to you guys. If you have any questions at all or anything, you can feel free to email me.
Okay, so it's all oral.
Correct. Oral history. We may place a video like this Zoom video on our YouTube channel, but it's just oral history. So history being transferred orally.
Okay.
Rather than, So our idea is that individuals are also experts on their own personal history, not just like academics or scholars or authors, right? But the individuals are kind of experts in their own right. So we work a lot on community-based oral histories, a lot in, Gainesville, Alachua County, all throughout Florida and the US as well. So really big on that.
All right, thank you for the opportunity. This is awesome.
Of course. Thank you so much again for your time, and we really appreciate having you.
Thank you again.
Thanks
All
again.
right, take care.
So this is just for the recording's sake. I never mentioned the date or the time. It's June 12th, 2023. In the spot office with Robert Smalls.